Our new book, our new module, is based on Blood on the River, Jamestown, 1607, written by Elisa Carbone. Our essential question this whole module: how did the social and environmental factors in the unknown world of Jamestown shape its development and decline? Focusing question for our first 8 lessons: how do the settlers respond to the challenges of their journey to the unknown? In today's lesson, what do I notice and wonder about Blood on the River? Here's a picture of the front cover. Take a minute. What stories have you read where a character leaves their homeland and heads into the unknown? We will read Elisa Carbone's book, Blood on the River, whose young protagonist faces many unknowns as he journeys to the New World and becomes one of the first English settlers. Settlers are people who build homes and create communities in new areas. This book focuses on the English settlers who founded Jamestown in 1607 in what is now Virginia. We've read historical fiction books before, but Carbone's book was extensively researched and features the real settlers who settled Jamestown, the real Native Americans who were their neighbors, and the real events that each experienced. But it also has some dialogue and some events that are made up by the author. So, real settlers, real Native Americans, real events, but it also has some dialogue and some events, fiction, made up. This is a fiction book, even though it's about real people and real events. Here's a map of Jamestown. England would be way over here, off screen, far off, and they sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. They came into the Chesapeake Bay right here, and they sailed up this river. This river has 2 names, and they sailed up it, and they started to build their town right here. There's lots of other rivers in this new world, as they called it. This is the part of the United States of this map. There's the Appalachian Mountain Range. That comes down to where we live. Take a minute. What might have been some of the unknowns faced by early settlers in America? Grab a Post-it and let us know your thoughts. Urchin means a misbehaving poor child, so rude, not minding kid. And foe means a rival or enemy. I'm going to read the back cover, then we're going to have a few pages to observe, infer, and wonder about the chapter. This is the back cover of Blood on the River. 400 years ago, a boy fought to survive in Jamestown. Samuel Collier came from nothing, a street urchin, an orphan, and even a thief. He seems headed for a life in the alleys of London. So when he becomes the page of Captain John Smith and boards the Susan Constant, bound for the New World, he can't believe his good fortune. He's heard that gold washes ashore with every tide. But beginning with the stormy journey and his contact with the native people, Samuel realizes that the New World is nothing like he imagined. The lush Virginia shore where they settle is both beautiful and forbidding, and it's hard to know who's friend or foe. The settlers' troubles are just beginning. The summer of 1607 brings mysterious illness, and winter brings starvation. It's soon clear to Samuel that the ways of the English don't always work in this unfamiliar land. The settlers need to find new ways. And as he learns the language of the Algonquian Indians and observes Captain Smith's wise diplomacy, Samuel begins to see that he can be whomever he wants to be in this new land. What observations and inferences did you make about the back cover's details? And what do these details make you wonder about Blood on the River? What did you observe from here? What inferences can you make based on those observations? What specific details from the book's back cover indicate that this novel explores how the characters must confront the unknown? What clues were there that these people are going to go to a new place, experience new things? What questions do you have about those unknowns? Here are two vocabulary words. Prophecy is a noun, and it is a warning about events in the future. Epigraph is another noun. It's a relevant quote located at the beginning of a text or a chapter. I'm going to start reading chapter 1, then we'll revisit the Jamboard. Blood on the River, Jamestown, 1607. First encounter. This is just a little preface to the book. The days are warm and the nights cool, with constant sounds of insects and tree frogs lulling us to sleep. Some of the gentlemen pitch in and work hard, but most of them just take turns standing guard, their muskets ready, with the slow matches smoking. For several days it seems as if we are all alone in the Virginia wilderness. Then one day I look up from my hoeing and freeze, afraid to move or even cry out. Two native men come walking through the forest, quiet as deer. They each have a long bow slung over one shoulder. "Halt!" shouts one of our gentleman guards. The Indian men keep coming, and I see our guards prepared to fire their muskets. "Wengapo!" one of the native men calls out. "Wengapo? Captain Smith has told me this is their greeting, and it means my beloved friend." The Indians hold up baskets, showing us they have brought us something, and they both smile. They are tall, sturdy men with broad, flat noses and wide lips. For clothing, they wear only a breechcloth, like an apron, and their faces and shoulders are oiled with something that gives their skin a deep reddish color. A preface is just a little section at the very beginning of a book. That's kind of like a flash forward to something that's going to happen later on. So Jamestown, so this is like that map we were looking at. Here's the river. Here is Hog Island. Well, the Warrascoyaks live right there. Hog Island. There's Jamestown. Different tribes. It says the Pamunkey River. The river where Jamestown is settled on is called the James River by the settlers, but it already had a name called the Powhatan River. And there's some different Indian tribes, Native American tribes. The Atlantic Ocean would be over here, and then coming into the Chesapeake Bay. So this is all water here. These are all rivers, waters, river. Chapter 1, it begins with a prophecy. In the time of the first planting of corn, there will come a tribe from the bay of the Chesapeake. This is right where I'm talking about. There's going to come a tribe from this water. This tribe will build their longhouses on the land of the Powhatan. They will hunt and fish and plant on the land of the Powhatan. 3 times the Powhatan will rise up against this tribe. The first battle will end and the Powhatan will be victorious, but the tribe will grow strong again. The Powhatan will rise up. The second battle will end and the Powhatan will be victorious, but the tribe will grow strong once more. The third battle will be long and filled with bloodshed. By the end of this battle, the Powhatan kingdom will be no more. This is a prophecy delivered to Chief Powhatan, who was ruler of the Powhatan Empire, by his trusted priests sometime before the Christian year 1607. So Atlantic Ocean opens up into the Chesapeake Bay, and then they're going to sail up the Powhatan River, but the English settlers are going to call it the James River. And all the way to Jamestown. Wish the pages were together. At the beginning of each chapter, this novel includes an epigraph that functions as a structural device, and it frames the chapter in some way. So we just read about the prophecy. There's going to be a tribe come from the Chesapeake Bay, and they're going to live on Powhatan land. They're going to hunt and fish and grow food on Powhatan land, and the Powhatans are going to rise up against them 3 times. The first, the Powhatans will win. The second battle, the Powhatans will win. But the third battle, the Powhatans will lose. So that frames this chapter, and the first epigraph really frames the whole book. All of the novel's epigraphs are taken from a primary source document. And I know you know from you already know that primary source documents are first-hand accounts that provide insight into the past time periods, places, and people. So if it's a primary source, it's written by someone who was there. The prophecy included at the beginning of chapter 1 was recorded as being delivered to Chief Powhatan by his priests around the year 1607. We'll read chapter 1. London, England, October 1606. My feet slap, bare and cold, on the cobblestones, and I'm breathing hard from running. Now I turn the corner, the street's dark, empty. It's my chance. I find the right door under the sign with the 3 gold balls. I've carried a rock with me. I slam the rock down hard on the padlock, pounding until it breaks free. Inside the pawn shop, it is quiet and musty. It smells of old wood and candle wax. There is the locket displayed on a piece of beaver felt. I close my fingers around the cool, smooth silver. I haven't touched it since the day she died. Mine. It should have been mine because it was hers. I pull, but it's wired down tightly. I hear footsteps outside. I panic, yank on the wire too hard. The wire slices my hand. I see my blood drip, but the locket is in my grasp. You, boy! A man lumbers into the shop. It's the shopkeeper, come from his house across the street. He lunges, grabs me, but I'm too fast. I squirm away and run, escape out into the fog, and I'm lost. Disappeared. I walk along the docks, past the dark hulks of ships bobbing slowly. My heart is still racing. I try to calm myself. I listen to sailors laughing and arguing, their card games stretching into the night. I even venture a whistle. Nothing fancy, just my own tune. The shopkeeper will not find me, I promise myself. When he sees me in the daylight, he will not know it was I who wrenched out of his grasp in the dark shop. And he certainly would never guess that I have not stolen anything, only taken back what is mine. It should have been given to me when she died, this locket of my mother's. This'll bring a pretty penny, they said at the poorhouse. It will pay for some of the extra food you eat. Can I help it if I'm always hungry? Then they expected me to stay on and keep working in the nailery, keep letting them beat me when they felt like it, as if I wanted to live in the poorhouse, as if Mum and I had wanted to be kicked out of our cottage on our farm, as if the blight was our fault and we wanted the crops to rot in the fields and had planned all along to not pay the rent to the lord of our cottage. But I chose the streets instead. I'd rather dig in the garbage heaps with the rats for my meals. Who knows? Maybe my mum would still be alive if she hadn't been a widow and hadn't had to work so hard, first for the greasy, fat gentleman who owned our farm and cottage, and then, after we'd been kicked off, making nails for 12 hours a day to pay our way at the poorhouse. Maybe she would still be alive if she'd had an easier time of it. Not my father, though. He would have drunk himself to death no matter what. I find my favorite hollow near the London Bridge. Spiked on a pole atop the bridge is the severed head of a traitor, a man who betrayed the crown of England and paid for it with his life. I turn my face away so I don't have to look at those dull, staring eyes. I curl up to go to sleep. For this one night, the locket is around my neck, hidden under my shirt. One night. A sharp kick to the ribs wakes me. This looks like the one done it. Scraggly hair and scrawny as a broomstick. I'm on my feet in a split second. Grab him! I try to twist free, but hands close on my arms, my neck. It's the shopkeeper and his burly son. I thrash and kick. They tighten their hold until it hurts. The shopkeeper pulls the locket out from under my shirt. Ah, what have we here? He says. A grin shows teeth brown as worms. It's mine, I cry. Mine! They don't listen. They talk between themselves as they tie my arms behind me with ropes. The magistrate will enjoy this delivery. Another criminal off the streets. The sooner he's hanged, the better. I throw my head back hard. It hits the son square in the chin. Yow! He cries. He made me bite my tongue. He returns my blow. One swipe with his hand to the side of my head, just like my father used to do. And just like in the old days, I see black, feel my knees crumble, and I'm out before I hit the ground. So we're going to do a chapter summary. What details in the prophecy help you better understand the Powhatans? And the prophecy was in the epigraph. What details help you visualize what London was like in 1606? What details do you notice about Samuel? And what can you infer about Samuel from some of those details? What questions come to mind when you consider the details of chapter 1 along with the details from the back cover? Explain your most powerful observation so far about Samuel. What can be inferred from Samuel from it, and what questions you have about it. Tomorrow we're going to complete chapters 2 and 3, and we'll add to our observe, infer, and wonder chart.